Welcome to the Murfreesboro.com podcast, where we talk about all things Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Join host John I. Carey, his co-host Jonathan Harmon, and producer Trent Denson as they talk about all the great things happening in our city. From construction updates to local business spotlights to all the amazing events happening in our community. Listen in for all you need to know from Murfreesboro.com. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back. Murfreesboro.com 2.0 podcast.
Good morning.
I want to come up with something different than 2.0.
I've been saying that this whole time.
I know, right? But I don't know. It works. So
it just felt lazy.
It just felt lazy.
It felt lazy.
I know. If y'all got a better idea out there for the, I don't know, we could do like a Matrix thing. You know, what is it? Matrix Revolutions? Murfreesboro.com Revolution? No. I only say that because I saw the new trailer for the movie. I don't know. So, anyways, hello, everybody.
No blue pills or red pills will be passed at this table.
Right. The rabbit. Chase the rabbit. Gotcha. Well, hello, everybody. Sorry about that. John I. Carey here. Jonathan Harmon there. Producer Trent over there. Jeff back over there behind the camera. Waving. Yep, he waved again. And we have a very special guest today, Mr. John Mitchell. Thanks for joining us from the Salvation Army.
Glad to be here.
Good morning, John.
I think if you tried to change it from 2.0, you'd be disappointed.
You think so?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of excitement when you said it. I think you've got more used to it than you realize.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Well, we'll just keep running with it then.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Awesome. Well, we know you're a very busy man this time of year, so we want to, first off, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This is fun. This is exciting.
Oh, yeah. No problem. So
John's with the Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been with the Salvation Army?
I've been with the Salvation Army 6.5 years, going on 7 next April. I've actually been in the nonprofit world for 20 years plus. I tell a lot of people I see I'm like an old penny. I just keep showing up. I was with the Boy Scouts of America for about 8. MTSU with the Jones College of Business for 4.5 years.
Oh, nice.
And 2.5 years with the Red Cross. I was in the Franklin office, but I worked with the staff here at the Red Cross here in Murfreesboro quite a bit, and then 6 years.
Now, interestingly, Sarah Callender has been on here before with Main Street, and she was with the Boy Scouts.
We
Were
worked
you guys
together.
there?
We worked together, yeah. She was great. We knew when Sarah left, she was just a great professional in everything she does, and we know that now and what she's doing. Mm-hmm. But when she started having her kids, we said, man, she's going to make the best PTO president ever, because she wasn't working at the time. But, Sarah and I are good friends. I'm glad to see what she's doing.
She's killing it over there.
Mm-hmm.
She does.
Yeah, she's doing awesome. So with all those nonprofits, going from one to the other, what took you to the Salvation Army? Why'd you end there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was doing well and enjoying working with the American Red Cross, but they went through a downsizing and they closed the office in Franklin.
Gotcha.
They just the downsizing process that merged with Nashville. So I had to look for a job, and because I've got 3 kids that are school age to this day, I've got 2 twins that are twin boys that are 10 and. My daughter's 15-year-old, but my family focused. I wanted to stay local, not have a job where I was traveling or anything. And so, ironically, this job posted for the Salvation Army about a month after I was, had been looking. And ironically, I'm the only person in a Salvation Army corps, which is the size of the Salvation Army here in Murfreesboro. Commands are what they call like in metropolitan areas in the Southeast Territory. It was kind of an experiment from the officers that were there. And I interviewed, and actually just kind of a real passion thread because I really enjoy what I do, helping people, but the Salvation Army, it's just been kind of seamless as far as enjoying what I do, trying to, build brand awareness and build resources to, help more people through what we do.
I got you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting. The Salvation Army is one of the most visible, but yet one of the least, what's the word I'm looking for? Not understood, but it's one of the more unique, and certainly what we all know about the Salvation Army is like this much compared to what they do.
That's true.
That's actually where I was going to go with that.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of history. The Salvation Army was established in 1865 in London, England. William Booth and his wife Catherine, he was a Methodist minister. So they had this real passion seeing the impoverished, poverty-stricken people in London, England, and they wanted to serve them. And him as a minister, he wanted to reach their souls. But he said, before I can do that, I've got to reach their humanitarian needs. They need, food. They need a bath. They need, all these things of decency and humanity. And that was the start of the Salvation Army. And because he was so successful in what he was doing, it actually people rallied behind him. But before long, it was a movement. And that movement grew into what is actually a denomination. They're a church. A lot of people don't understand that. That was the origins of the Salvation Army is they had, so a lot of people will know that we use military terms with officers. They're either, lieutenants, captains, majors. That's just because over there in England, one of the early people that was working with the Booth said, we want to be the best volunteer organization out there. And post-war in England, apparently volunteer wasn't perceived as a power type statement. It was, and someone said, no, we're an army. And that stuck.
Nice.
I see.
And then once they used the term Salvation Army, they kind of adhered to those terms. It's not military, but, how the officers did their ranking. That's all it really is. There's no real association.
So it's instead of a director or a president or a, whatever.
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
So what's your rank?
Well, so I'm staff. So the way it really works is the officers, they really have two responsibilities. They're commissioned officers where they get training to come and work with the staff and be the lead in an administrative sense, but they're also ordained ministers. And so here at our Corps, since I've been there, there's been 3 different commanding officer couples. That's the preference, what you see most of the time is a husband and wife that are both ordained ministers to run the small church that's in the Salvation Army and then be the lead for all the programming that's going on. But then you have your staff that stays consistent, amongst them switching. And if you'll think about it, the fact that William Booth was a Methodist minister.
It's very similar to how they do
That's how they do their, so they see their role is more of a ministry-based, like a missionary. Mm-hmm. Every 3 to 5 years, they move to a new location, The Silers were the first officers I worked for, and actually after they left here, they went to Italy, Rome, Italy.
Oh, wow.
So some people, don't realize, or they do, but we're an international organization that when you come over to the United States is separated into 4 territories, and we are part of the Southern Territory, which is run out of Atlanta. And then there's divisions. We're part of the Kentucky-Tennessee division. And then, but what you need to know about that is we have a fabulous camp that is run through the Kentucky-Tennessee division up at Del Hollow Lake. And so we sent about 28 kids at no cost to them, kids that wouldn't have had the opportunity to go up and have, a week-long experience that was second to none. That place is really great. It's right on the lake. They've got pontoons. They've got kayak boats. I mean, you name it. They've got some program. And I worked for the Boy Scouts for 8 years. So the first time I seen the camp, I was blown away.
Nice. Very
sports-oriented, volleyball court, tennis court, swimming pool, so
a little
that's
different
the
than
strength
Boxwell.
of having and of course, the Boy Scouts, they kind of pride themselves on being a little more rustic. Everybody's sleeping in tents, but here you got cabins and all, which I'm ready for a cabin these days. Tent is
what's a tent? I don't even know what's.
Yeah. I actually prefer turn down service. So if we can have a hotel, that'd be great. Yeah.
Turn down service. That's awesome. Nice. Good deal.
But that's a little. I forget the original question, but I think
that was awesome.
Well, it was kind of just to elaborate on yours. Sometimes, like I've, we get a lot of press releases and post a lot of things from Salvation Army. Thank you guys for sending those over. But a lot of times we'll get people that just don't fully understand what all that you do.
Yeah, and that's not an odd statement or question. I found that to be true. when I started working for the Salvation Army, first of all, I'd lived in Murfreesboro since 1989, and I had to look it up to go to see where I was going for the interview.
Yeah.
And as you said, we sit right off Highway 99 in a very prominent place. But I've known, working in the nonprofit world, you have to learn to, for lack of better terms, toot your own horn. Because you fade back. The societies is so busy. And so if you're not out telling your story and telling what you're doing, it's so competitive out there. You have to keep reminding people. But the other thing, because our brand is so strong, the first thing you ask somebody about the Salvation Army, what reminds you of the Salvation Army, the first thing that comes to mind is the bells, which we're in kettle season right now.
Right.
And a lot of times they don't know much more past that. And
Admitted right
yeah,
here.
I got you.
yeah. And so once I started with the Salvation Army, I started work on getting people into the building through lunch and learns, and was having success with that. We called it the Beyond the Bells Lunch and Learn. But at the same time, from past experience, I knew how to develop a luncheon, which we developed the Beyond the Bells Luncheon. So the name kind of switched over to getting 300 to 400 people in a room at Embassy Suites and telling the story offsite, and raising money there. So
Yeah,
that was kind of the way we developed the Beyond the Bells. And the term Beyond the Bells is, what's beyond the bells? Why would we raise money? What is it going to? And I guess I've really kind of set myself up as a segue to say what we do.
Yes, please.
That works.
Yeah. So the building has been there since 1994. The Christy Houston Foundation approached a Salvation Army service that was somewhere downtown, maybe just providing some services, and said, we're a growing community. We're going to need your services in a bigger capacity. So they put up the seed money, and that building was built in 1994 by the Christy Houston Foundation. Since that time, we have always had a bricks and mortar shelter, for people that are homeless, looking for, some respite care, something, get off the streets and try to work on their life. There is a gymnasium in there, so it was built and designed for youth programming. We've always done the Angel Tree. Most people know about that. That's happening right now. That's grown to, last count, over 1,600 seniors or children will receive an Angel Tree Christmas by, the community going out and, getting an Angel Tree tag, somebody that we've identified to receive, has a need, and they'll be picking those up. Those 1,600 angels will be distributed next, the 17th and 18th, Friday and Saturday.
Gotcha.
So, but that's an big overview of the programs. What's really exciting is what's happened in the last year and a half. We aligned ourselves with the Nashville Area Command that was doing some awesome programming, and one of them was called Life Navigation. The officers I serve with here are the Knotts, Captain Patricia and Michael Knott. But up in Nashville, Major Ethan Frizzell, he's a Harvard grad, and he thinks big, and he thinks different. So as far as making a change in someone's life, he came up with Life Navigation. And the Life Navigation program really puts an emphasis on, we've always worked with individuals, say, hey, you're dealing with homelessness in some capacity. That could be someone out in a encampment. It could be some family that's moving from, house to house with their relatives or friends, and they're couch surfing, but, you're looking to stabilize yourself. So of the top 3 goals we identify when they come in and say they would like our services in LifeNav, we immediately say housing is number 1, and they usually, agree to that too.
Get you somewhere stable.
Need. Yeah. So what the power behind the LifeNav is for us to go out and secure rapid rehousing money, some federal money, which that allowed us to not only have the money to put people in, stable permanent housing for 2, 3, or 4 months, whatever it is, to get that, to get to that next step of stability. We also secured some money to have staff. So within the last year and a half, all these changes have happened, and one of them is we've went from 7 staff to 14. So we've doubled
there you go.
in size. And something I already knew, but it takes manpower to drive things. And so we've got 3 staff that are committed to be life coaches. And they actually had some great experience. So they came in, hit the ground running. And in the last year, we moved 64 people off the streets into permanent housing through that rapid rehousing program.
Nice.
So that's on the right side of the building, where we have we call it, instead of sheltering now, we call it supportive housing. There's 4 family rooms, so it's just like a real modest hotel room with a bathroom and a place to get up, get ready, go to work, go to school, come back, get rest, and go reach those goals. There's a dormitory style room for 12 men. And then a room for 3 females, single females, that is. So that's the right side of the building with a kitchen. So the other program we've been known for over the years is every day at 5, anybody can come and receive a meal, a free meal, a warm meal, nutritious meal, every day at 5. We don't necessarily serve a lunch open to the community, but we do provide a lunch for our residents that are working on their goals, or a continental breakfast in the morning to get out and get going. But that's something we've been known for, since I've been here, is a 5 o'clock meal at the Salvation Army. But here's the exciting part, too. A year and a half ago, we said, listening to Nashville, and they said, we're going to start this new program called Learning Pods and Resource Hubs. So now we have a full youth program going on the other side. It started during the pandemic as the conversation was, how was kids going to get their education with distance learning? And right at the same time, we developed the learning pods to provide that access, but it's grown into what ended up being a summer program where we had 70 families sign up. This is all, no fee based, these families.
Yeah.
And 70 families come, but an average of 30 were coming over the summer, just to come in and use our gym and our resources, have some programming educationally based as well. But now it's morphed into an after-school program. And so very similar in the sense, I don't know if we're averaging about 20, 24 kids, come in the afternoons after school. They come in, get a snack, go start doing some programming, some field trips. But that was the other 3 additional staff members that were hired. It's varied. During the summer, we had additional one that was 4 back there. But right now, we're averaging about 3 staff.
Well, and that helps also, I guess, with the folks that are staying there as well.
Absolutely. We have several cases where the family is staying in our supportive housing program. The kids just gravitate down to the learning pods. And while the mother is there, I'm just thinking of one particular family. I remember while the kids went down to the learning pods during the summer, the mother had an opportunity to go out and do DoorDash to make some money.
Okay. There you go.
Very cool.
Awesome.
So, and of course, everybody knows about the bell ringing. So it's funny. I took my kids and we did bell ringing 2 Saturdays ago, I guess it was now. And while we were standing there, of course, I got 4 kids standing there ringing bells and chasing each other with bells and everything else. And it was a lot of fun. But they, of course, one of them specifically really wanted to know how did that get started and what's the history behind that. So I, of course, went to the website and looked it up. And that's a pretty interesting story as well, how bell ringing got started.
Yeah, I remember looking it up myself, but you correct me if you're wrong since you've looked up more recently, but I think it was in San Francisco.
That's right.
They were just trying to get some money together, for a meal, and somebody started passing around, I I don't know if it was actually a kettle or if it was a red bucket, but I think there was something symbolic about the red.
Mm-hmm. And the bell is just to remind you that right now somebody is hungry and somebody is homeless.
Okay, see,
That's what it is.
I just learned something.
Yeah.
You can always learn something
So
every day.
it's just a reminder
Yeah.
that, hey, right now there's someone in need.
Yeah. So, and that, over time, I mean, I've worked in the nonprofit, world, like I said, for a long time. And sometimes you think, well, there's a term in fundraising to fundraise top down, really focus on these, your larger donors. It's more productive to spend more time where you
Fewer resources. Mm-hmm.
So when you first start with the iconic kettle, you look at it and you're like, we're raising money 1 penny at a time.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Right.
And
That,
but then
that was one of the more fascinating things that we saw is, well, first of all, it was crazy. We set up the little tripod, hung the bucket up there. We were the first ones, first shift. And the second that bell hit, like the very first hit, we saw people doing this and like instantly reaching to pull out some pocket change or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was crazy. And the kids got a thrill out of, the other kids coming up and, Mom died, let me put something in the bucket.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And now I really see the power of the Red Kettle it's phenomenal in the sense that if you think about it, we probably could have the bragging rights of having the most donors in the county. Because when you count little Johnny pushing those coins in there, and being in the nonprofit world and being through trainings, they talk about cycles, and the cycle of a donor starts a lot earlier than just the gift. And so people are responding to the Red Kettle that one day may be in a business and may provide a sponsorship or a larger gift that supports the program.
That's
so
a great point. I didn't think about that.
I didn't when I first looked at it, I said, man, this is a hard way to raise money. And then it's like, no, we have something very special.
Well, but if you think about it, so I had kids that were Cub Scouts. All of that. My nieces have sold Girl Scout cookies. It's really probably the easiest way to raise money. It just is extremely labor intensive. But the fact is, if you see a red tripod with a red kettle hanging there and the Salvation Army logo hanging on it, and you hear the bell, there's no question as to what's going on. Like it is the most recognizable fundraiser ever.
It's very intuitive now.
I mean, it's just
like,
it's almost like Pavlov, right? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, money in the bucket.
I've listened to a couple of the captains or the officers give orientations, and I remember one of them saying, the most important thing we ask you to do when you're there is to keep that bell ringing. And there's a subliminal thing that happens. And I remember him saying, just when someone gets out of the car, if they just hear that, it doesn't have to be anything crazy or, loud, just that constant, consistent bell ringing, they hear it the first time they get out of the car. And then, it's pretty amazing. But we have another special story going on with our kettle season, and that's John Jake Verge. So over the years, the logistics and the time, consuming part of bell ringing is a challenge. We have 28 locations that we could bell ring at Monday through Saturday in 2 shifts, the way we operate, either 10 to 3 or 3 to 8. If you add all that up, starting early November with a couple of locations that started, that was over 7,000 available hours.
Nice.
Wow.
Now,
here's the reality. This is the challenge, as you said, the logistics, and, we've probably filled we're between 400 and 500 of those hours being filled, So the opportunity is huge, but to fill that gap is a real challenge. And
how can people help fill that, just for those watching if they wanted to get involved?
Yeah, well, here's the easiest way to do that: www.registertoring.org, or is it .com? You guys test me out on that. I'm sorry. Let me take another sip of my coffee. See if it comes out.
It's all right. I'll find it. We'll put the link up.
Yeah. Register to ring dot something.
Registertoring.com, I'm pretty sure. So on that site, and this is the first time we utilize that, all you got to do is put in your zip code and then pick a date, zip code, city, pick a date, and then it'll show you the available locations. The one thing that we do really try to adhere to, and we'll be flexible at times, is trying to get a group. So I'm really not recruiting just a bell ringer. I'm recruiting a group, an organizer to say, hey, we're either going to take the whole day and our Sunday school class or small group is going to split it up, or the Rotary Club like we've had with the challenge, or I'll take a 5-hour shift and just do it with my family and a couple of our neighbors, and we'll cover that. We'll internally figure the schedule out, but we'll cover.
Give us this whole chunk.
One block of time. Because once again, if you look back logistically, the challenge, if we would have 2 hours in Laverne, 2 hours in Smyrna, 2 hours in Murfreesboro, trying to even just you at that point you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, is trying to make money from programs, So, but that's how. Thank you for asking. Is registeredring.org, and sign up. You can also call the office. My name is John Mitchell. Just call and ask for me at 615-890 or 895-7071, and I'll work with you. But even expand the conversation, again, working with some really smart people in Nashville, we took hold of a concept they called the Red Kettle Challenge. And the Red Kettle Challenge was built about the fact to say, hey, if somebody could help us strive to raise $1,000 or more, that supports one of the families in our supportive housing program for 1 month, food and all. And if you strive to do that, you could do that. You tell us how you want to do it. The most dominant, or not dominant, but the most the popular way and successful way has been to go in one of our preferred retail stores and do it like we've been talking about, take some shifts, work that out. But we've had other people get creative. So State Farm, when the pandemic hit last year, they did an online kettle, which I can set that up for anybody as well. They sent it out to their employees with a company, saying they would match it and raise $2,000 just by an online drive and people responding and the company matching.
Well, I think so. Our challenge was between the 3 Rutherford County Rotary Clubs, and if you're watching this and you're in the Smyrna Rotary Club, we are losing. And I don't like losing. So if we can maybe get, I'm calling you out on Murfreesboro.com right now, just so you know.
There you go.
If we can get another shift together, I know that we can smoke the other 2 Rotary clubs here in Murfreesboro. But again, we're losing, which is not good. So, but in one shift or in one little chunk of time, we raised over $800.
Yeah,
Well, that's
that was
awesome.
really good. And again, we're learning too, because we used to be the officers that have been trained over the years. They had a certain way of doing, the kettles, and we kind of challenged them with this Red Kettle Challenge to think differently. So I did something different with y'all. As I met you, and you took the kettle to Rotary, so you were able to have that kettle before you rang and then while you were there. And that's the kind of thing that we're learning. We just got to let people tell us how they can help us raise money. Sometimes we get kind of stuck in our ways. And the reason the officers have been stuck in their ways is they're responsible for money. So they have a kettle count, a kettle integrity, and there's a real science to it. But they also feel very responsible that if they're putting these kettles out, the kettle count is correct, and they get all kettles back, and there's some real integrity to the program.
It'd be a real problem to lose one, wouldn't it? I mean, as far as for the integrity of the of the
for the
program.
officers, I think they've got, somebody told them that they probably lose their officership, which wouldn't happen, but you feel that fear in them.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a certain level of trust that's involved with the bell and the kettle and all of that.
But the difference, probably one of the things that explains that is the other situation we got going here is John Jake Verge. I mentioned him earlier. So over the years, we have had a mixture of both paid bell ringers and volunteer bell ringers. So if you look at those opportunities, to raise money at those locations, you could see where if you said, well, I'm not going to at a Sam's or a certain Walmart or Hobby Lobby, you're going to make, some really good money just by having someone there. It was beneficial to pay somebody. And it also, over time, was a ministry in itself. Some of the people that we paid to ring the bell, and John's a good example of that. He's done this 35 years. He's the only paid bell ringer this year. We went to a focus to say we're going to try to be 100% volunteer, but there's no way we could tell John Verge, you can't bell ring.
And where does he ring?
And he rings at the Memorial Walmart. He lives close there, and he meets the officers in the morning there, and he rings a lot on weekends because he works at the Boys and Girls Club throughout the week.
I didn't know his last name. I know John.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, John Jake Verge. I tell you,
I just knew him as John. I had no idea what his last name was.
Well,
I worked at the Boys and Girls Club for a very short period of time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, John's a special person.
He's awesome.
And this is funny. He
it's funny. I had no idea what his last name
All
was.
this time.
It was just Mr. John.
What was it? During our last Beyond the Bells, we presented him the Partner in Mission Award for ringing the bell 34 years. I mean, that's just outstanding.
That's wild.
And he's really proud of that. So I was a little late in getting the award to him, and I got it to him the other day while he was out at the stand. And there's actually a story running in the Post about John right now. But he takes real pride of that. And I said, hey, John likes social media. And so he posted on social media, I can't sleep this morning, but guess what? I'm the best bell ringer ever. And somebody responded to him and said, John, you're the Tom Brady of bell ringing.
Tom Brady, you're the GOAT of bell
He's the GOAT of bell ringing. But, it is pretty special. He takes pride in it, but he does a good job. But just to tell the story of Salvation Army, there's some people that are paid. It's not a elaborate pay. It's just a good thing that people could do. But our board had really said, to really make money, and honestly, COVID really forced us more than anything, is we said we're just going with a volunteer component. We're going to push that. And that's why we did things like the Rotary Challenge, just to kind of get that good synergy between organizations to say, hey, let's, Pinnacle Bank, they did a full day and a half. And I think they had it set up for their employees to just take hour shifts while they were working, And
we ought to put a competition between some local banks, or even better, some local real estate firms.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah. Now, of course, we got a shout out to MTAR for doing the Realtors Day, Middle Tennessee Association Realtors. They fill up just about every Kroger on a Friday, December the 3rd. But yeah, competition amongst the realtors would be fun,
because I'm pretty sure my Keller Williams office can handle pretty much any other office in Murfreesboro.
That sounds like a challenge to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Let's do this.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I tell you the one that I'm working on, and I've just been so busy I haven't. But I'd like to establish a battle of the badges. Maybe the police department,
nice.
one location, the county sheriff's department, and EMT. Well, in Rotary, Dr. Gloria Bonner, I'm in the noon Rotary. She had 1 month where each of them spoke, and that's where I was thinking, man, I've got to get this challenge out, and I've just been so busy I haven't got in front of the right person yet.
The police could totally own that one, probably. Just pull somebody over and then be like, just kidding, but donate. Here you go.
Yeah, here's our kettle.
Well, I'll let you out of this ticket.
I don't know that would media very well.
Yeah, don't do it.
Blue light pullover. You were
Blue lights,
going
Red Kettle.
Limit, but here's a kettle, and it's for a good cause. I don't know about your stress level, but
right.
Well, town of Smyrna back in the day, they used to have a softball game between the firefighters and the police department. Mm-hmm. And then they started having people get hurt, and was it work comp or not? And anyway, so they nixed that. But I don't think you can get hurt ringing the bell.
No.
Just saying.
No. Somebody get hit in the face. Boom.
Yeah, maybe. That's your own fault.
Right. No. Yeah, I think you'd be good on that one.
But, so that's a shout-out to anybody that's listening. If you want to ring the bell, you can sign up just, for that 5-hour shift, or if you're an organization and you want to come up with a creative way to help us raise money, you call us, and we'll put it to action. And it's easy now to you could start that process by going to registeredring.com. I'll end up with the information, and we can build on it from there.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit because it being Christmas time, you also got the angel tree.
Yes.
And so, like you see those everywhere, but how many, you said the number earlier, I apologize, I missed it, but how many are here in Rutherford County are you helping out?
It's up to 1,600 at least.
Wow. Okay.
Now. And that was through that big growth came. We have a gentleman on our board that works at Nissan, so they were doing a similar type program. And a little bit of the history of the Angel Tree program, I think it was started by the Salvation Army in 1979, but a lot of different organizations do that and call it Angel Tree, and the Salvation Army doesn't have a problem that Angel Tree, it's not a branded, we're the only ones. As a matter of fact, we probably couldn't handle everybody's needs during the year, which we would say we're probably one of the largest or more organized programs out there. But that has grown. So Nissan will take care of that side of town or that side of the county with, I don't know if it's maybe 600 that we don't see. That'll be 600 angels, which there'll be a box where each angel, which is a 12 or younger youth or a senior, they'll be able to list their top 2 needs and top 2 wants. And then from that point, we print the angels. The big way we distribute those angels, you can imagine 1,500 doesn't sound, we call them angel tags, but it's an angel hard or a piece of paper with that person's first name, their needs, their wants. Then we give those out. Primarily, a lot of the companies respond well, and they'll take like 50 and give it to their employees. So like Nissan or Yates, there's several organizations that. So that's how we get the big bulk of them out. But we've had the angels up at Sam's Club and at Walmart. This is the last week of it, so I think we're taking the angels down. If somebody's saying, "Oh man, I missed it," and I want to just call the office at 895-7071. But our gym turned into a mini Amazon. So what Nissan was covering up there, you'll see on average, we'll end up with over 200 brand new bicycles.
Oh, wow.
You'll just see these boxes getting full of, I've done the Angel Tree process in the past, and these little kids ask for, Spider-Man, Mickey Mouse, whatever. We try to keep it within reason. So, instead of asking for a gaming system, it's recommended they ask for like maybe cartridge for the game or something. But it's really up to the person shopping. So when people shop, we've seen some people really go out there, and it's really nice to see the generosity of people. And I also think, if you came over to the Salvation Army right now, you'd see our hallway just full all the way to the gym of these, angels coming back in bags and boxes and getting ready to get processed into, the mini Amazon room. All get put into the right box to be given out, this Friday and Saturday. I think it's pretty good economic stimulus for the county, too. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people out buying right now for good, to help somebody out.
So 2 quick questions. How does somebody get on the list of 1,600? How do you guys identify someone?
That's a great question. That's changed, too. We used to do 3 days of signups, and we would have a room full of people sit around the table, and they would show us some documentation, show us, we went through a vetting process to make sure opportunistic people weren't just taking advantage of the situation. So we did that for years. But again, this was kind of a Nashville-led thing that they started doing. We just started working with community partners and mainly the school system. So we reached out to all the schools and said, and the guidance counselors, and we had a couple days where they could come in and get trained to use our system. Why should we identify somebody they already know as a need?
And you also end up catching people in that net that that won't identify themselves.
That's very true. We've seen our demo. Well, I don't want to say our demographics, but it's changed a lot this year, and that tells me too that there was a lot of people we weren't getting through that process. And so, by working with the school systems and some other agencies, they vet the people for us. One of the things we like to do is tell people, listen, we really only want you involved in one. So if you're signed up in other programs, we really want you to just be in one. It's just really fair, and so we've done some, collaboration with other organizations to say they really should be in one or the other. And
Shop with a Cop, for example, some of those.
Yeah.
And then the last question on that is, inevitably there's going to be angels left on the tree. And so what do you guys do for that? I mean, are they in multiple locations? How do you handle that?
Now that's another great question. So we have a term called forgotten angels. So let's say it's two things. Let's say at the last minute we took on a request just because the need was so great and we didn't have anybody shopping for them. Or, as I said before, you have somebody that everybody's got different budgets. So somebody's out shopping and they do their best and they get a few things, but then the kid right next to them, it was just
Loaded
stacked
up.
full. So the forgotten angels is something that we will put a forgotten angel tag out, which means that might not represent a certain person, that might represent a need. And the need is usually the kid that somebody got the tag, and for whatever reason, life happened and they didn't come back. All right, so he's not forgotten somebody shopping to fill that void. Okay,
so you might pick a tag that doesn't actually have a name on it. I see.
And forgotten angels. And then just last week, Rob Mitchell, the property assessor, his office has done this a couple years. They went out and bought some items that were new for seniors. There was a box, and then they all just took a cash collection, and it was somewhere close to $550 of cash they collected. And they said, we want you to have this for the forgotten angels. So we'll have some resources available, and we'll, there's a little bit of Santa shopping right there at the end to make sure everything's planed out, and everybody that said, we said we were going to get something for, they'll get it.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I read online about the angels. It says the number one thing requested was socks. Is that true?
Yeah, I've seen that commercial. But, I will say this. Here's an interesting fact. When I was doing the Angel Tree application process, a lot of people would probably be surprised to know at that time we were, Smyrna Laverne, we were serving over 50% in Smyrna Laverne. And of those, a lot of them were the Arabic speaking. And that was really neat. But they would come in, and there was a little bit of a barrier with communication, but someone would just sit down and you'd say, what's your top two, needs or wants? And they'd be like, pajamas, clothes, underwear, Yeah, just real basic needs. And it was pretty humbling. Now, every now and then there's a parent that comes in there and they want the world, but that's just a kid. He wants the newest, greatest thing. But I can tell you from my experience, these people are very humble. And they're really just wanting some basic needs, coats, socks. I think there's a commercial out there that says the number one need in shelters is socks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. But that's true. There's some just real basic needs. When you get to that point in our community, our supportive housing, sometimes it does just get down just to your basics, starting.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting. I've participated in the Smyrna Shop with a Cop several years, and one of the more interesting things there, they get a budget. The kid gets a budget. They go around with the police officer through Walmart, and they pick some things, and they got to buy a coat or a pair of shoes, like that's required. And then other than that, they get to kind of go shop. And almost always, they want to get a present for their mom or their dad.
Yep.
Almost always. The kid has this budget and they can pick stuff for themselves and they want to buy presents for someone else. Yeah. Almost always.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really good to hear.
It's awesome. And it'll just get you, man.
Yeah. That's actually my parents do the Angel Tree every year for however long now. It's been a long time, but I've always been surprised, like going on that. Well, for what you said, it's very humbling what a lot of these people ask for. You know, they just want a soccer ball, you know, or something, or something that we don't really think much of. But there have been cases where people put things that they want to get something for somebody else. And I was like, that's so nice. Like, you know, or I want this for my brother or something like that. And I'm like, that's really cool.
Well, one of the things I've picked up and listening to the way we presented Angel Tree was, you know, the parents will get, sometimes the parents don't have any choice and they come with their kids to pick it up, but we prefer them not to have their kids with them when they pick it up. So it gives them an opportunity to maybe present Christmas to them without knowing, you know, where it came from. So it wasn't like, you know, oh, well, you know, you were an Angel Tree kid. It was more or less, Merry Christmas, kids. You know, let's just enjoy this morning.
That's awesome.
And
retain a little innocence still.
Yeah. And COVID changed a lot of things. So we used to really enjoy the fact that everybody would come through our building, and part of the process was to hear the Christmas story, you know, because anytime you have a crowd that big, you have to kind of stagger the line and move it. But that would be part of the process. They would get in line, they would go through the church, and we would tell a Christmas story, and then they would go out, and then we'd have a shopping cart, put it in there, and then help them load it. But now we're doing, we keep saying drive-by. That sounds gang-related. But it's a drive-through. It's a drive-through a parking lot, and we just, you know, as the car pulls up, then we load it just. And that's been, we found that to be very efficient in time, too. So I don't know if we'll go back to that post-COVID or not.
Oh, that's wonderful, though.
I've got a shout out for another organization. Adient is an organization. They're a factory not far from the Salvation Army, behind the Heritage.
They make seats, right?
Yes. So they called us and said they had a program where they've got a works. It's slow, and so they're asking their employees to do, you know, maybe sweeping for the second time or whatever. But they really encouraged them, if they wanted to get paid, to do some community service. So they've been coming over to the Salvation Army and helping us with the Angel Tree Room. And myself and the captain said, well, if they could do the Angel Tree Room, they could also bell ring. And so we put them out there bell ringing. So their company is paying them to
That's
bell
awesome.
ring.
Oh, that is cool. Okay.
And
So you have more paid bell ringers, just not by you guys.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And so that was, I don't know, that was maybe some answered prayer, because
That's
you know,
very
we
cool.
haven't filled a lot of those hours. We're just pacing ourselves with what we can do. But I just thought that was some really goodwill for the company to say,
Good job, Adient.
keep you. We want to keep you with a paycheck, and maybe we don't have as many seats rolling down the line, but you can go out there and do good for the community, and that really has had a great impact for us in the last week.
That's
and a half.
wonderful. Yes, awesome. Good. Shout out to them. Any other shout outs you want to give real quick?
Smyrna Ready Mix. I would be
Those guys.
Laura Smith and Allison are two marketing ladies I've worked with, but they came up with the idea, said we want to do a day of ringing. So they set up a day of ringing, and then it grew into nationwide.
Yeah,
Because
they're
their
all over.
footprint is Michigan, Florida, Texas. So they did a bell ringing in all these command or metropolitan areas all across the nation. But then on top of it, they did their kettle, and I think they did like $500 or $600 at the Kroger on Memorial in a short period of time, which was great. But they topped it off with a $25,000 check.
Oh, nice.
So if I don't give a shout out to them, I'm not a good
Smyrna
development
Ready Mix.
person.
All right.
And by the way, did you see their cement mixer in the parade yesterday?
Yes, I did. It wasn't
That
far from
was
yeah.
ridiculous.
That's
It was
yes.
awesome.
We actually saw that pull up. I went, oh my God.
There was more lights on this friggin' cement mixer than on any of the houses on this street.
Wow.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was crazy.
It was impressive. Yeah, they actually pull up in the lane next to us. I was like, oh my God.
The barrel or whatever you call it, the actual mixer
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
they just went
I seen
It
a
was
quick picture,
awesome.
Yeah.
but I know it couldn't have done justice to see it in
No,
person.
it was incredible. Good job, Hollingshead family
right?
and all of you guys. So
Yeah.
See, I was during the parade. I was because the monster truck usually kind of, it kind of steals the show. It's a monster truck, and then they pulled in. I was like, oh,
no,
wait.
you got way
Balloon
upstage, dude.
deflated. All right, gone. Yeah, they were way upstaged on that one. Yes.
Yeah. So, whatever y'all want to talk about as we got time, but I will say this. We're going to be ringing the bell all the way up to the 24th. That's Monday through Saturday, never on Sunday. The closer we get to Christmas, the more the kettles yield. Everybody gets a little more festive and into the spirit. So don't think if you haven't signed up that you're too late. You're just right on time.
That's right.
All right.
www.registertoring.
I actually threatened to sing Christmas carols when I was ringing, and they said that we would raise more money if I didn't. So
yeah, well, let's try it.
I don't know. I was highly discouraged by my kids.
Get some karaoke out there with Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas."
I joke
I would
in
love
Rotary
to see you do.
about Phil Barnett cheating, and he doesn't cheat. He signs up for 6 or 8 shifts, and then he invites all his friends to film, which is great.
Yeah.
But I could tell you this isn't cheating, but it almost is when you see that sweet old lady walking into whatever store she is, and you got these little kids ringing a bell.
That's the way to do
one
it.
lady, I was Hobby Lobby, and this lady went through, and she gave us some change on the way in, and she came out, she said, "Oh my goodness, I don't have any more change." She went out to her car and got some more change just because she was so moved by these little kids. I said, I don't know. I feel like it's a little too much, but the kids at the kettle,
That's the way to do it.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for having me.
And
really appreciate it.
Just one more time, quick shout out. So if people want more information about you, or find you, or want to volunteer or anything, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just call the Salvation Army office at 895-7071 or go to Register to Ring and sign up, and I'll connect with you and get you set up.
Awesome. Thank
There
you,
you
John
go.
Mitchell.
Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it. And thank you all for watching again. We appreciate it.
Have a great week.
See you on the next one.